Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me. Today I've got a really cool recipe for you. I'm going to make the perfect summertime salad using a few seasonal ingredients that I found at our local grocery store. So first is a beautiful sweet watermelon, and I'm going to pair that with some yellow and orange cherry tomatoes. I'm going to show you how to make some oven-dried goat cheese. We're going to add some toasted pine nuts and a very quick and simple lemon-basil vinaigrette. And we'll top the whole salad off with some crispy Cipollini onions. So hang out with me for a bit and let's put this recipe together.
And for this recipe, we'll need 8 to 10 basil leaves, 2 large lemons, 3 Cipollini onions, 2 ounces of pine nuts, 10 cherry tomatoes, 2 tablespoons of Dijon mustard, 1.5 cups of olive oil, 2 ounces of arugula, 4 ounces of goat cheese, and 2 cups of diced watermelon. So after I've peeled the watermelon, I'm going to cut it in half, lay it down on our cutting board, and then cut it into a quarter. And then we want to cut the quarter into some thicker slices, approximately 3/4 of an inch to an inch thick. Snip the ends off to square it off, and then we're going to cut it into some large dice, about 1 inch thick. You can cut these any size you want, but for this presentation I decided to keep them a bit larger. We'll take those pieces and move them off to the side. Now I'm going to start with the oven-dried goat cheese. I absolutely love this recipe. It's going to pair perfectly with the salad. I have a log of goat cheese in a sheet pan that I lined with a silicone mat. I'm using some small spoons to break up the goat cheese into some smaller pieces. Then I'm just going to lay them on the sheet pan. The pieces can be any size you want, but for this recipe, I decided to keep them in some smaller chunks. You can also break the pieces off with your hands, but with the spoons, the cheese doesn't melt as fast. After we've laid the goat cheese, I'm going to transfer the pan to a 425 oven for 6 to 8 minutes or until slightly browned around the edges. Now I'm going to move on to the crispy Cipollini onions. After I've peeled the onions, I'm going to cut them into some rings, about 1/8 of an inch or so, or as thin as you can cut them. Then in a small bowl I combine some cornstarch and all-purpose flour, about equal amounts, and then we want to transfer the onions to this mixture. Toss them slightly, and then I have some canola oil that I've heated to around 375 degrees. Carefully drop in the onions and fry for about 3 to 4 minutes or until they're browned and crispy. And finally, what we want to do is transfer them to a paper towel lined plate to absorb any excess oil. Next is the toasted pine nuts. In a saute pan on low heat, I'll add a few drops of olive oil. To that I'll add in the pine nuts, and you just want to keep moving these around, either using your spoon or shaking the pan, and we just want to get a little bit of color on them and just slightly toast them. And now on to the pan roasted cherry tomatoes. In a saute pan on high heat, I'll add in a little bit of olive oil, and then we want to throw in the cherry tomatoes. And I don't want to cook these until they're soft, but rather just blister the skins quickly and keeping the tomatoes from getting too soft. Season them with a little bit of salt, and after about 2 or 3 minutes, they'll be perfectly roasted and packed with some great flavor. And the final component of this recipe is the lemon-basil vinaigrette. To a container, I'll add the juice of 2 lemons, or half a cup, 2 tablespoons of Dijon mustard, and the mustard will really help to bind or emulsify the vinaigrette. I don't have this in the ingredient list, but I decided to add in a tablespoon of honey. And then we'll season it with some salt and fresh cracked black pepper. Then I'll add in 1.5 cups of olive oil. And I use a standard 3-to-1 ratio for this vinaigrette, and that means 3 parts oil to 1 part lemon juice. Then I'll blend it together using a hand blender and keep it going until the vinaigrette has come together. When the vinaigrette is done, it should coat the back of the spoon, and this is the consistency that I'm looking for. Then I'll take some basil leaves, stack them up, and then roll them, and then we're going to cut them into a chiffonade or some fine strips. And then we'll take our chiffonade of basil, add it into the vinaigrette, give it a quick stir, and the vinaigrette is done.
All right guys, so we finished all the ingredients for our salad. The only thing left to do is to plate it up. So let's do it. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do is we're gonna take our cubed watermelon and we're just gonna start to lay it on our plate here and just kind of offset the pieces a little bit. There we go. Now I'm gonna do about 6 pieces for this salad. Now I'm gonna add some of those pan roasted cherry tomatoes and just gonna kind of put them into the little pockets here that we created with our watermelon and just drop those on there. No real order or fashion to it. And then I'm gonna add some of our toasted pine nuts or pinoli nuts. Just put as many as you like. Just kind of throw them around the plate a little bit. Now what I wanna do is just take some of our arugula pieces and just start to, again, just kind of throw those around on our salad. Just kind of have fun with the presentation. Then we're gonna take some of that oven-dried goat cheese and just start to put some pieces all around. 5, 6 pieces there. Very nice. And then what we'll do is we'll take some of that lemon-basil vinaigrette and just put some of that vinaigrette around and hit the arugula and the watermelon. That looks awesome. And then we're gonna finish this salad off with some of those crispy Cipollini onions. Put a few of those guys around. And that looks absolutely gorgeous. I'm very happy with that. And there we have it, guys. That is our watermelon salad with the oven-dried goat cheese, some of the pan-roasted cherry tomatoes, crispy Cipollini onions, and some fresh peppery arugula. All right, guys, so let's try this salad out. I'm just gonna take a little bit of that goat cheese and the pine nuts and a little bit of the arugula. That is so delicious. And I'll tell you what I really love about this salad is just a combination of flavors and textures. You get that sweetness from the watermelon, a little bit of tartness from the oven-dried goat cheese. The pine nuts add a perfect amount of texture and crunch. And then that lemon basil vinaigrette just round off all the flavors. And I presented it in a fancier way because that's what I enjoy, that's my true passion. But you can very easily just take all of the ingredients in a bowl, toss them together with the vinaigrette, and it would be absolutely amazing. Hey guys, I truly hope you enjoyed this recipe. If you did, please take the time to leave me a comment below and also share some future videos or recipes that you'd like to see. And don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button. Thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. I'm gonna finish eating this salad because it looks fantastic. That is so good. Try it out, you're gonna love it.